Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. The week 2 of regionals is just around the corner, and while most of the pros are busy practicing in scrims, we can always rely on Robin being there for us, putting up the stream and queuing up some ladder to entertain us and learn together with chat. Therefore, let's see how he manages to approach this particular game, playing in the silver scrapes with the final showdown bound to be a tense one. Now he has come back, also is hiding his TFT Academy overlay that sometimes pops up on your screen in that form. Playing around the Demacia at the moment, we have the JG, therefore we consider. We can see that this Path of the Spirits as well, therefore possibly the best path, or pretty much equal to Transcendence, when it comes to the RE reroll comp, which is also extremely prominent in the current meta, and an option you can both play from lose streak and a win streak. But we managed to pick up a Jarvan too, therefore perhaps more likely to be leaning into this one. With the Spirit is bound, there's going to be possibility of being contested, and you definitely do want to not be contested on your reroll. Coming up on our augment, now let's check quickly which is the option we already snapped rerolled. That would be lunch money. Yeah, it's going to be hard to playing around this econ augment, and we do not have like an absolutely insane board for that. Branching out would be an option if we wanted to play for item tempo, however the emblem we get could toss us over, in the sense that it could not lie in fit with our board, and we have quite clear direction established. Even if we realize that the RE is open, we could be playing into that. Therefore 1-2-3s is quite appealing as an econ augment, currently quite heavy econ meta, either for playing for fast 9 from a win streak or for early reroll comp. Item grab bag could potentially also increase our item tempo, and we also know that we have called down to this Caitlyn because in this Demacia opener it's quite nice to be carrying a Orianna if you do not have a Sona 2 to play with, and we only have a single copy of that at the moment. See that there is a player playing around the Demacia opener as well. He is considering branching out here. Slice of Life is also another great econ option. We do get a long shot emblem. I am not fully set on this as an option since I mean, obviously we could play around some form of a Kaisa board, but perhaps if we're looking for a potential something that we could toss onto an emblem that could give us some more frontline, we're not opting to not unlock Poppy here either. Not committing fully to this JG at the moment. Now here's the Ari as well, but we have given up on our Shens. Now we do get a early Wayne, which could give us that long shot buff into the Demacia line. Already quite a few interesting decisions made. So now we're going to be playing around a Zoe, which is just going to be a stronger mid-game unit. We did not unlock the Orianna either. And I suppose the best way to do it is if you have a Y to be pairing with this Jarvan. But already interesting way to see how he's managing to tie together the strongest board in order to hopefully string together a good streak here. Also opting to hold on to these pairs rather than just simply snap selling them right away for econ. Now with this longshot emblem, I'm not exactly sure what kind of board we will be playing into. Obviously, yeah, the Demacia Kaisa board is an option, but it just doesn't cap that high. In the sense that the Kaisa has received quite a few nerfs, and it still would require quite specific items, and simply you're not rerolling the Vayne anymore. While playing in the Void Bruiser line again, it's easier to unlock conditions, but the line is more for salvaging your placements than trying to win out. Also being late pick here, we are picking up a tier, generally a very good flex component, good time to avoid stuff, could go into Spirit Visage, which is one of the strongest tank items, especially for something like a Garen. If we are, as it seems, we are most likely going to be continuing playing around this Demacia core. Simply the most econ efficient way we have, and we have this upgraded Jarvan as our sole upgraded unit. And unfortunately our streak got snapped, but we should be able to pick up a win here. Hopefully we can close that on a 2-2 streak and learn a little bit of gold in that way. Also opted not to level aggressively here as we are valuing making that 20. Our streak got contested. Generally would want to do that if either we are in dire situation to be dropping down 20 precisely would be if we are in dire situation to be having to preserve HP, which is generally almost never the case in your stage 2. Or if you are contesting a 5 streak. Now, leveled here, as he does still value tempo. If you are going to be playing around the Demacia, we do want to be getting quite in a fast 9 way. Being stuck on level 8 on the Demacia comp is a very unfortunate situation, especially since so many Garens are being pulled out. We're still playing around against what my personal intuition would be. Therefore, very interesting already to see how he has approached the early game. And we completed the 2-streak by queuing into a weaker player there. Do get dropped what most likely could become a declaw. Do get a Leona pair as well. And do get to complete the Shojin. Just going to be playing for max item tempo. Now, obviously for high roller Garen, so that's going to be quite neat for us. Right away able to slot that in and itemize and have a stable tank for ourselves. I'm going to note if he's going to be holding on to this Leona pair for potential level 6. Or perhaps selling that. Well, we have a Vayne pair. But would this Vayne 2 be able to secure a win streak for us? I'm not that sure, since we do not particularly have her items. So still going to be aggressive with his gold, not going to be taking trying to make these econ thresholds, trying to play the strongest board. And this is one way how the top players are able to make it to the fast line. It's not about the econ. You can sacrifice econ, sell some econ to save lives, and hopefully your streak gold is going to be paying off. Right now in this situation, we probably would still be looking for an econ or an item augment. Since we are trying to preserve his HP, we want some tempo. And generally spreading roots would be the better option to do so right away. Also gives us a Forger if we opted to reforge the Longshot emblem. Know your enemy would be good, especially in later games when we are sacking. We could see how, if we are a necessity to rolling a little bit more. A Nerf's Gambit is a delayed augment right now. The gold would be nice, but I do not believe we do have an open chain that we could perhaps transition into a Demacia emblem if we are able to win our next combat, I believe. Yeah. Now we have Earth. That is just going to be better for us. Therefore going to pass up on the spreading roots. The emblems could not synergize with us, and we have a guaranteed way to making this Demacia emblem. And Portable Forge again would be a little bit of a flip at the moment. We just value this Demacia emblem a lot more, particularly would allow us to perhaps play into some form of 5 Demacia flex board with this emblem. It's going to be interesting to see how he manages to figure this out. Also, yeah, it gives us the exact 5 Demacia spike right away, well recognized. That's going to be sorting out our front line for ourselves and able to hopefully go on a little bit of a streak here. Still hold. Now we opted to sell. Okay, so we opted to go for a 40 there. Making 50 here, and hopefully if we string together a win here to go on a 5 streak, we will most likely be wanting to level 7 as well. And for that we could just hold on to a potential of the Vi most likely. Yeah, if we win, we should definitely be holding on to this Vi, trying to get a Piltover module, but we do get run over by a LeBlanc 2 with a Darkened Staff, a very strong combo from them. Now also, we should be getting the Kaisa unlock on level 7, so perhaps we are still going to be pushing to level 7 to try to contest the spike, try to complete our frontline tank right now. Obviously always want to be making sure to itemize the both your Kyrie and the tank at the same time, so on stage 4 you can load in with both 3 items. Also, if we do get dropped a bow, this belt can become a Nashor's Tooth. Also opting to play this Braum here again, trying to, even if we lose this round, then we might just give up on this Poppy. However, it looks like we're safe to secure a win. Simply strongest board to make your way to level 9 from these kind of comps, and especially with Demacia, you're wanting to be playing this tempo. It's very hard to be play this comp from behind. For our modules here, we do get dropped. We already saw that we picked the Continuum Cogs, which is generally going to be the best option if we are playing into some form of AP, as our items are dictating. Otherwise, could be taking Caliph Burness to just simply slow down any kind of units, particularly if we see that there's not the players are not building CC immunity on their melee carries. And Turned Oscillators if we had been playing around something like a shielding frontline, something like the comp where you run the Nautilus and Loris together in the Zoe reroll. That is an option that is just gains in value since the units are shielding mostly. Into the Malzahar reroll board here from them with a very strong Leona. However, their backline is unupgraded, so could use this shot, but unfortunately ours is not that much stronger either. Simply a single star Zoe, so we're losing a round. 73 HP here at this point is a little bit slightly worrying if we wanted to just sack to go 9. Therefore, definitely going to be looking for a couple of upgrades. Would want to find an upgraded frontliner and perhaps even an upgraded backliner to ensure that we are able to go through this stage 4. But the nice thing with having this Kaisa is that it gives us a couple of outs, and we do get dropped a Rage Blade as well if we wanted to make that. Yeah, going to go with the AP Kaisa right now. And our goal situation has gotten a little bit worse due to be playing so aggressively but not managing to complete that many streaks. We have lost out, and we're going to be unlocking a Oriana at this point as well. Not sure if we're going to be playing around it now. If we were having this standard Demacia board with the Sona, then we could pair Oriana here until we replace it with something like Lissandra. Also gives us an option to be keeping in the Piltover buff, but going up on this augment exile, we saw that our econ situation was, therefore we're going for reinforcement. Little Buddies is hard to be played in many of the comps, and exiles would require to creep the positioning well for the Masia comp, especially if you're playing around Lux, you're wanting to be the units wrapping around your Garen, therefore it's going to grief that. Maces we would be having to complete a TG at this point, I believe. Would be good since we have the crit already, but we have no options to evaluate the item right away. Duo Q, I don't think this comp can run that many 5 costs. This is generally good in comps where you can run quite a few 5 costs and can benefit from the items. Therefore, reinforcement simply the best option. Hopefully able to find the Lux 2, for example, and we do exactly find that. Able to slot it in right away and unlock the Galio. Would have been fine to take the Garen as well. Going to transition. The longshot Lux actually should be quite decent in the sense that generally her damage trickles a little bit to the backliners nowadays. However, with the longshot emblem, it should be amplified quite a bit. But I believe the damage snap off for the damage jump would be going off her primary target. Able to take a very close win at 15 HP. That's quite huge for us. Going our unlocks right now. Fine. Yeah, probably can drop Poppy, so just going to slot in an Arcanist buff for ourselves through the Ahri. Do not have to be digging for this extremely contested Swain. Now, probably is going to be still holding onto this Swain first, so I'm not going to be making 10 right away. And we see that there is still an Arcanist player in the lobby as well, so the fight for Garens is going to be quite real. They have rolled to 0, picking up that Gilded Steel Augment, which is alright if you're able to make it to that board, but it does not necessarily help you get there, right? I mean, Tibbers is a tank, so you get durability buff from your Silas, your Shyvana, your Annie, and that 15% is already comes out at a quite decent value. Perhaps they were hoping that they would be hitting quite some of those 5 costs, but realistically on level 8 you have to be stabilizing around something like Annie. We pick up another Spatula here, which could also be an interesting option. Now we find an Annie of our own that we could just tag it over the Sari. However, that's going to be quite expensive for us. Are we going to be evaluating that as an option? We're instead considering dropping this Kaisa. Yeah, since we took the Spatula Augment, that provides us a little bit of extra mana gen for this Annie. Obviously for Annie, the key is the mana gen, getting to this board-wide burn. And now that we have managed to string together these 3 rounds, we are in comfortable position to be sacking the rest of the stage in order to go to level 9. Now, we do have a red buff. This is going to be a little bit of redundancy if you're playing around this Annie, perhaps. Just going to go full attack speed as well, since obviously the Lux is going to be stronger at this point at a 2-star, able to deal more damage. Now against the Stilvers, having to do quite a bit of a fight against the reroll player, but this is another prominent thing that can be seen in the current meta. A lot of players, when you are playing whatever from behind this 3-cost reroll lines, you have to ensuring that you're spiking quite hard on 3-5. As coming up on stage 4, we can see already this board. Our upgraded units are Zhao and Jarvan for our frontline. Obviously, I'm playing Demacia, which is a frontline trait in itself, but the 3-cost reroll is going to get quite severely sometimes punished on stage 4 with the 2-star for 4-cost, especially from the backline using. They simply just have a lot more damage. Now we are keeping this spatula open now. Obviously the spatula served as a mana gen item for ourselves. We opted to complete the full 3 tank items, going with quite a bit of beefy Garen. Garen loving that HP since Demacia provides the resistances for us, and obviously slam the Void Staff. Still interested to see, like, are we just going to be using this spatula as a mana gen item? Perhaps we can find an open component later down the line on the carousel. Against a fast 9 player who have managed to go to 9, we simply just did not have the goal to do so. Thankfully they haven't hit that much, so the Lux managed to snipe their backline, the perfect lineup. The Tibber setting up the Lux for an alley-oop. Now can we get, yes we can get them down. And yeah, the longshot Lux definitely seems to be putting in quite a bit of work, able to find the Annie, and they're holding on to this Kog'Maw, so we are perhaps considering playing into some kind of more Arcanist board. Now that would be quite interesting to see. I also transition the items to the Tibbers as if 1-star is going to be stronger, and perhaps we do not fancy our chances of finding the Garen 2-star right away due to how contested the unit is in its form. And then another thing, if we've just fought a T-Hex player that we lose to, playing around the Piltover Jinx with a Gunslinger Emblem, very strong setup for them. Have not managed to get to their Jinx tree, so they are in a little bit sketchy spot, but interesting to see how they are playing around this 4 Gunslinger variation as well. Seems to be quite an interesting of a lobby from multiple perspectives. Now we are probably going for another Rage Blade. Now, obviously could not use the Morello. Do you find an NA2 in a single roll? That's quite great for us. And also going to be dropping down, starting slotting in some of these 5 costs for the auras. Also slotting in the 6 Arcanist buff. Definitely a very great great high roll there for us to be able to stabilize this board, but particularly since Annie provides that extra front line that we are lacking as well. So we're able to take out the ghost of the reroll player. And this should be netting us quite a lot of placement. Seems like a couple of players just went out. Over 3 players just went out in a single round, separated by just a little bit of an HP. Now Senna 2 is an option as well. Are we interested in going for that? Not exactly sure how that would fit our board, so we're going to pass upon that. Finally find a Swain that we'll probably be slotting in over the Poppy. Now here seems to be another Jinx player, so that would explain why the previous player was unable to find his Jinx on his own. And this is the threat of the Annie. The Annie too, once she gets to burning your backline, it's just absolute nightmare for, especially for your 3-cost units, which are a little bit lower on the HP. Now, what would this... So we are itemizing here in a way to pick up this Poppy, so we are looking to play around a Ziggs as well. Since we have that Longshot emblem, that definitely could give us an option, and yeah, with the Kog'Maw being a Longshot Arcanist, we find finally the Garen too, able to sell it for a Silas. Now we have 3 Longshot board on our own. Get the Garen back, going to transition, then these items become the Ziggs items. Is another Rageblade for the Ziggs perhaps? Yes, this is another Rageblade for the Ziggs. I'm just tossing the open spatula on the Silas for the mana generation. 6 Arcanists, 3 Longshots, a very interesting board strung together. And now that we have fully came online, the Lux and the Annie tag team is able to take down the backliners. And now we are finally in the top 2 already, so we're just going to be leveling here and able to find the Vayne to slot in for 5 Demacia, get the 4 Longshot, 6 Arcanist comp rolling now. Definitely going to be a lot of damage on multiple sides. Also the Demacia emblem is quite nice, I would believe, for the Annie, since she just greatly benefits from the mana reduction. Able to spam cast now here, but it seems that the more convenient through the Darkened Staff and having less on the Eco Dogman's side, they are able to take us out. Now this is the worrying bit, since our only frontline unit really is this Tibbers 2. We have to be positioning on our locks in a way that we are able to snipe their backline, and the Mel player that we do get on the Mel, I believe the only way we could realistically get this if we're able to burn this Mel down. Bet the laser burn gets away with it. We do get the burn, but still it's just taking too long. The orbs have done their damage and we do get taken out. And even if we find this Silas 2, are we really able to cap much higher than them? It does not seem to be so. Do not seem to find our upgrades. Perhaps making this Galio 2 was a mistake here, since if we were able to find a Ziggs 2, that would have been a greater of a benefit. Simply frontlining some of these extra weaker units in order to have some form of resemblance of a frontline. And hopefully this Jarvan does not jump on us. It does jump on our backline, so we go get the backlines down, and their Mel is just going to be having to deal with the burn, but it gets too late. Definitely a very interesting board to put together by Robinsongz. If we had hit those 5 cost crucial upgrades, we would be very close, but unfortunately we're not able to get exactly there. However, still very well displayed by him how to navigate these items, how to navigate your early games in order to arrive to these endgames capped states, and playing around quite few interesting augment choices in the early game. I hope that you enjoyed watching and you learned something new, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.